This is Chiming In.
And then I remember getting up to the rock again. I look up at him and I've never seen him in a worse way. Like his legs and that, like he had cuts all over his arms and all over his legs. He was pale white and he was coughing. He broke down in tears, just saying he's sorry that I went through this. And then I'm like, oh, you're fine. Like it's what happens. Like and I was like sort of like trying to keep cool about it, but inside I wasn't really. I was like, I was stressing out.
He was intimating he was in the home straight. He was going to struggle to survive. Blake Steep, Sydney Roosters star, NRL All-Stars star. Welcome to Chiming In.
Thank you. Yeah, it's great to be here.
Good to see you, mate. Hey, not your first podcast. You've done a bit of podcasting because when you came down from Port Macquarie to Scots College, you actually kicked off your own podcast.
Yeah,
Tell us about that.
It was a part of an assignment that we had to do. We had to do, create our own podcast. So I'm pretty sure it was called the 100% podcast. I'm pretty sure, and we only did one episode. It lasted one episode, so it was all right. We had we wanted to do about like athletes and that, so we end up getting an ex-Winter Olympian who worked at Scots at the time. He was like the speed and sprint coach there. So got him in, but he went to the Olympics for bobsled. I'm pretty sure the Great Britain bobsled team. So I'd done a bit with him, and Xavier Savala was the co-host. So it wasn't too bad. It was good fun.
Good fun, mate. I wanted to talk to you about a lot of things today, and congratulate you on such a great start to your career. I mean, you've played NRL All-Stars already this season and 3 NRL games last year as a 19-year-old?
Yeah, 19 still, yeah.
You must be pretty proud.
Yeah, I am, yeah. It's been, never thought it would happen this early. Like, I went from playing SG ball at the start of last year, and then I think it was like 3 or 4 New South Wales Cup games, and then, I got the call up from Robbo, so I was, pretty surprised, but, just taking every step, taking a lot of learnings and that from the boys that have gone before me, but now, I just feel like I want to come into my own and, sort of play some more games this year and get some more experiences.
So signed by the Roosters as a teenager and came down from Port Macquarie, God's country, great part of the world, and into Scots College where you boarded, and you played some rugby union as well. Yeah,
I played a bit of rugby union. I firstly came down for my first initial visit of Sydney Roosters when I was 13, I'm pretty sure. So I did like 2 training sessions with the Newcastle Knights, and like from Port, like being from Port or like Taree or the whole Group 3 area, like it was good for like the boys that if they get selected, they go to Newcastle. So that was like kind of where everyone wanted to go down there. So got selected for like one of their development teams, under 13s, and then done 2 training sessions. And then I think Craig Walker got a hold of my dad and said, "Oh, would you like to come down for a meeting?" So I was like, "Oh yeah, sweet." Like I've always gone for Roosters. Like they've been supported them for all my life. So I was like, "Yes, I want to go and have a look what they say." So I went down into seeing the HQ at the old stadium they had inside the HQ, and I seen Victor Rads when I first walked in there, and he's like, "Oh yeah, it's a great club. It'd be good to have you in here." And got to hold up the trophy that they won, I think that year or the previous year. So so then went to there, and then I think it was like the next Wednesday because it was too far to drive from Port Macquarie to Sydney for just like one training session. So they had the Central Coast system with John Strange. He was like running this development system. So I'd go down there every Wednesday or Friday, I'm pretty sure it was, and I'd go down there and do training sessions and just keep getting better while I was playing football back home. And then we end up getting into the Harold Matts team, I think when I was 14, I'm pretty sure. That's when it was under 16. So had a bit of time there, a bit of experiences, probably like pretty tough playing a few years up. So I was pretty nervous. I was still pretty young, and then just kept doing that, and then COVID happened, so it cut the year off, and then came back again next year when it got brought to under 17s, and did that again. So I was still a year young and played the season there. Would live with Strangey and his family for the part of the season, and then moved back home. And then I moved to Sydney the year after. That's when I got put into Scots College. I think it was because I played this one game of union at home just as like a muck around game with one of my mates, because you could just do a 1-day sign up, And then so I played that game for the Port Macquarie Vikings against the Pirates. But I think it was like maybe like a month earlier. I played for the Pirates. So the two rival clubs, but I played for both of them. So I don't know. I'm pretty sure there was a couple of blow ups there. But but I ended up playing for Vikings, and there was a guy there that I think he knew something to do with Scots and that, and then got a hold of Roosters and wanted to know if I wanted to move into there, and I ended up getting a scholarship from Scots, and then Roosters helped out as well with the school fees and everything. So it was good.
Great opportunity, and
100%.
made the most of it. You played with Zach Fittler, Freddie's son.
Yep, I played with him. Played 2 seasons. Played year 11, and then I played in outside centre for that one. I remember getting on because I only played that one game really, and that was just like I sort of did whatever. I just ran around, caught the ball, tackled hard, and then I got into like the first 15, first game, and I was like, I actually don't know really what I'm doing here. I don't know what a maul is. I don't know what any of that is. I don't know how to line out or anything, so I was pretty lost there for a bit. But I ended up getting used to it, and then by the time I was getting used to it, and I was like, I was loving it. It was good fun. I was and then I did my ACL at training, and then so that cut off the rest of that season in year 11. So then it was just rehab until the next season, and then I ended up getting back for the last 4 games of year 12, and enjoyed it.
So life for you as a kid at Port Macquarie was conventional, but it was also a little bit different because your family love camping and hunting and fishing and doing things on the land that most normal kids don't get to do. What was it like growing up there with all those opportunities? Yeah,
it was obviously like footy was like the main thing that I love to do. I love playing footy. But outside of that, I remember I was pretty lucky to have Dad, who was always into the nature. I know when he was a kid, I'm pretty sure his nickname was Bush Boy or something at school. So he was always forever outside in the bush making teepees and catching, shooting, doing all that sort of stuff. So he taught me and my brother how to do all that when we were younger. So we were forever hunting, forever spearfishing in the water. I know. Like I'd be at home and Dad would get home, you'd hear the boat motor, he'd be flushing the boat motor out, come down and see what he's got. He's got all these big fish in there, and I'm like, holy, like this is crazy. Like I remember we brought home like a shark and that a couple of times, like when I was like real young, like getting photos with it all. And I remember like the fish and that he would get would just be like twice the size of me, and I was like far out, like how's he actually doing this? And then you'd always see his guns, he'd always be working on his guns and everything. So it was it's pretty cool for me and my brother to see all that. And then once we got old enough to be able to go do it, like probably about 8, 9 or 10, I think around there, that's when we started doing it. Enjoyed it ever since.
So Dad obviously taught you how to use a gun and how to fish and how to catch lobsters and oysters and all that sort of stuff. So would you regard yourself an expert in that sort of stuff?
No, I wouldn't say an expert just yet. Maybe a few more years, but I'd regard him as an expert, and probably my brother. My brother's been he was always he's probably in there more than I was. So I definitely reckon that, because when I was a bit younger, I couldn't go out to the places where Mitch and Dad would go because it'd be a bit too dangerous for me to go out there. So Mitch would just get like taken out with Dad, like going through rocks and everything, and just teaching him a few things, teaching him about like the currents and that, how to like get into certain parts in the rock, what to look for and that, and like teaching them all the different types of fish, like the ones that you don't want to be like shooting big fish that aren't going to like taste good, because there's no real point of just really shooting. You want to taste like get good ones that are actually going to be able to feed the family and that. So he taught him a lot, and then once I got older, he started teaching me a fair bit, and then it was kind of tough there because then when I moved away, he kind of missed out on all them chances to teach me. So every time I go back home now, we're always doing something.
So Christmas Day's fresh lobster, fresh everything.
Yeah, never pay for any oysters, lobster, prawns, or anything, because we used to even do our own prawning, and Dad would make up these nets. He'd be always making something downstairs. We're going down there all the time. He goes, "Oh, look at this! I got new traps and stuff, and feeders, making these nets." So we'd go out into the lake and get these big nets, and we'd like walk through the water like late at night, because that's when all the prawns would be out. So we'd catch our own prawns then, it was lucky for us where we lived, like probably like 100 meters down the road, just off the end of the streets, the river there. So like along the whole the whole side of the river is just oysters all over the rocks. So Dad was down there chipping away this fish, like flathead and everything. So and then when you get the boat and go up the headlands, go up to like Crescent Head and all that. And that's where we'd get our lobsters and like all the bigger fish. So it was forever just seafood.
And did Dad teach you to free dive, to be able to hold your breath, to go down deep?
Yeah. So like when he taught us how to do it, he made us sure we knew how to do it safe and everything. So you don't want to go down there, and because like when you go down deep, your ears and that get like real sore. So you gotta like equalize properly and you don't want to like do anything to like when you're coming up, you're kicking for breath. Like you don't want to like pass out and everything. So taught us how to do that, because when he was sort of like doing it all the time when he was younger, and he would be forever practicing his breath hold and everything. Like we were saying before, like how he's training and stuff. So I always used to walk past his bedroom, and then I'd see him like laying down like with his head flat on the pillow, and I was like, I thought there was something wrong, but he's there still as possible practicing like getting his breath hold right. He pretty sure he got his breath hold to like 6 or 7 minutes at one point, and that was pretty. He was always training, and that he used to train in a pool. He'd grab a ping pong ball, and him and his mates would they'd go down and they'd like hold it, and then if you've seen the ping pong ball pop up, that's when you know they've probably passed out. So you got to go down and help him. They used to hold himself to the max, and he always used to go on walks, and so when he was walking, he'd go from the telegraph poles and hold his breath to the next one, and then slow breathe to the next one, and then hold his breath again. So just constantly like under fatigue, holding your breath. It got him super fit. So then he got to teach us all of that, and then
What about snakes, mate? You run into any snakes?
Oh, plenty of snakes. Yeah, plenty of snakes. I know when we were younger, I think Mum was telling me a story when I was back home for Christmas last, that we used to have this pet carpet snake that we'd have in this mesh bag, and I think it was I would have been like 2 and my brother would have been like 5, and we used to have this pet carpet snake. And I remember Dad went to work once, and Mum was saying that like Mitch went out and got the snake and brought it back in, and she came back in the room and was just letting it crawl all over him, and I'm just sitting there like I think I was 2, and so I couldn't really do anything. And then Mum's like, because Mum's petrified of snakes, like she hates them like so much, and then so Mum's like, oh Blake, get him off, and I was like, apparently like I was 2, I didn't really know what I was doing, and Mitch was just letting it like crawl around him and stuff. So we've kind of been like real familiar with them and that. Like there's always been snakes around the house and stuff. So Dad's I think he's got a couple of videos up on his Instagram or something catching these big pythons and stuff. It was not long in the Chrissy break actually when we were home, had to catch one from a house. So it was my brother goes over there, he's pretty good with them. He catches them, grabs it by the tail, and like because they like to swarm around and that, they try to crawl back up themselves, so like twisting the tail, so I can't get back up yet. But then we're trying to put it in this bag, so I was opening up the bag and he was putting it in, but it would like coil around him, and then so I'd try to grab it off him and it would coil around me, and because it was pretty big snake, so it was, and they're strong as well. You don't want to hurt them because they're pretty cool creatures.
Yeah. So mate, you're well and truly, as Dad is, an adventure man.
Yeah.
You love the outdoors, you love the ocean, you love the land, you love hunting and fishing. On January 4 this year, things didn't go to plan when you and Dad went spearfishing up near Crescent Head at Delicate Beach.
Delicate Nobby Beach.
So you swam out from shore with your spear guns about 800 metres, almost a kilometre offshore.
Yep.
Mum's on shore at the time.
Yeah, with the dog. Yeah,
with the dog,
there.
just cruising, waiting for the catch.
It's like normal because we're always there, and we've always done that. Or if we're not doing it, we get the boat out to the front of the headland. So it's like you just jump off the boat and get in. But this time we just swim out off the top because you usually see some pretty good fish on the whole way out. So
so you're swimming out with your flippers and your guns.
Yeah, you got the guns, got the bags and stuff, because just in case if there's any lobsters around, you got the bag and you got the gloves in there because you don't want to be grabbing the lobsters, rip your hand up and everything. So got all the gear out there and we're just heading out, just cruising around. The water was actually pretty clear that day, so
you can see the bottom.
Yeah, you can see the bottom. And by the time we got out to the very end, it was pretty deep, and you could see down to the bottom. Actually, that day we seen this big stingray, and far out, like it would have been like all of us around, like it was massive, and like it wouldn't have fit through like this door. Dad reckons it's been in that same spot, like hung around that same area since for 20 years. Like he's been diving down there with it, and this big barb on it would have been like 3 or 4 meters long. This enormous stingray.
Wow.
And I was like, all right, I want to go down a bit closer to have a look at it. So I went down and had a look at it, and it was like far out, these big stripes along it. And then Dad's a pretty big dude, so he dove down to like look at it, and I'm like comparing the sizes with him. I just would have wrapped him up, this massive thing.
Yeah, Dad's about 130 kilo.
Yeah, big. Yeah, so he's a big man, and
and this thing's what, 2 or 3 times as big as it?
Yeah, like the it's like fins or flaps sort of thing, whatever it would be. It would have been like that deep.
Yeah.
So it wasn't just like a normal stingray where it's like that. It's like that deep. These big stingray.
So what sort of other fish do you see out there? Are there sharks?
Yeah, there's sharks. There's a lot of wobbegons.
Yeah.
Like, so many wobbegons, and something like they just chill in there. So like times you'd be going in, putting your hand up there looking for lobsters, and because sometimes you're that deep in, you can't even look. You just have to feel around, and you're doing that, and then you like look beside you, and there's the wobbegon sitting right there in the hole, and holy shit, like it scares you. So but there's plenty of them around. There's plenty of white pointers. Bull sharks, plenty of bull sharks in our river. I remember when I was younger, going down, diving down in just our river, just at home, just off the shore, and I dove down to have a look at some flathead and stuff like that, and to see these big dead bull sharks there, and I scared the shit out of me because I thought it was dead. It was just laying there dead, and I was like, I didn't know if it was dead or not. I got out straight away.
Crikey.
But we've been driving on the way to school because we go past the river to school, and just seeing like sharks, and then seeing the fins and that up there, and like far out, like
so you're obviously like anyone scared of sharks. You're not going to pat them.
Yeah, 100%. But like every time I like dad and that say like there's going to be sharks in here, like just we don't want to like not be afraid of them. You always got to have it in the back of your mind, but just don't be thinking of it to start off with. Like,
so you start shooting on this day, and you speared some fish.
Yeah, we speared some mulloway, some jewfish. So it was probably actually a pretty good school of dewies down this little like crevice in this rock. They like the dark places. So like we dived down there. It's probably like I want to say like 6 or 7 meters down. We get down there, and
you're about 20 foot down.
Yep.
No air tanks.
Just free diving. So you're breathing up. You want to get your breathing right. You like just big deep breaths till you hold a good one in, go down, you equalize, and that's when and then you have a look around. You got the gun out, and then there was like a school of mulloway, and they all like swim so close together, so it's hard to like pick off. You get some small ones in there, and you get some big ones, so it's hard to pick off the big one. So I end up finding he ended up seeing a big one and plugged the big one, and smacked him it was a good shot as well. He shot it from pretty far away, and then they split off and they went around there. So I left him. He was leaving up to him. So I went up and went to shoot one. Is when I shot mine. I got it right in the tip of the head, and I went through it, and then it went under the rock. And I was like, oh sweet, we got one. And I was pulling it out, and then it wasn't on the end of the shaft. So I was spewing. The flopper didn't like flip over because there's like always a flopper on the tip of the shaft. So it didn't flop over or something. I don't know. So I lost mine, and then I turn around and look at Dad, and he's fight like pulling this thing in. This big wobbegong comes up and just smashes this like tearing it up, and he's like pulling it away, like trying to get it off, and it's and I was like far out, and I'm like trying to like poke it, like get it away, and it's just tearing up the guts out of this dewy, and I was like, oh no, there goes the good meat.
Yeah.
So then finished up doing that, and
so you just go to the surface.
Went to the surface after that, and because like whenever you come up from being down there, you're always pretty knackered. You're like, oh, far out, like you have to take the snorkel out, and you like just breathe up a bit.
So you'd be down a couple of minutes.
Yeah, you'd be down there for a bit, especially like when he's coming back up fighting that shark. And then after we were in a bit of a tangle on that, rigging up our guns, and then he put it on the rig line behind my gun, and then after that he said he still hasn't caught his breath. He goes, far out. I'm like, I'm stuffed. I'm pretty tired, eh? And I was like, I just want to cruise. Just want to go back into shore, and then and he's like, oh no, we'll just keep kicking around and see what else we can find, because obviously the school was around. There was still some good fish in there. And then I was like, oh sweet. So we decided to kick him for a bit longer, and I look over and he's got his head above the water again. And I was like, oh, like what's wrong? Like what happened? And he's like, oh, I'm so tired. Like I'm knackered. I can't catch my breath in that. And I was like, oh, let's just head back in. Like let's just slowly get back in. We'll see what we can see on the way, but like we'll just go back into shore, because we're always all the way out the very tip,
out in the ocean. Yeah.
So that's a pretty big swim. Like especially when you're just cruising looking for things. Like you're out there for a while.
So you knew then it was going to be a bit of a challenge to get.
Yeah, especially because he was tired and that, and then we're kicking for a bit, and I look over and he's like kind of stopped kicking as much, and he's head above the water again. And I'm like, oh, like you're all good. Like what's wrong? And he goes, no, I'm not all good. And like I've never heard Dad say he's not all good. He's always he's that tough man. He wants to be like, no, I'm fine. Everything's fine. And then I was like, shit, like, no, I'm not all good. He goes, I And he's like, I can't move. I can't kick. I'm so out of breath. And I was like, far out. So I remember grabbing his gun off him and then like wrapping him up underneath my arm and then kicking him, and then probably kicked him like 40 meters to this, the nearest rock that was out there. It was this pretty steep rock and a pretty sharp rock as well. So I was kicking him up there, and we were kicking, and we like got him to the rock, and the part of the rock that was like probably the best part to get up to had the most barnacles on it. So like I've got him up to that, and he's like crawling up, and he's got his flippers on, so it's hard for him to get up there. So he's trying to take his flippers off as well, and then I was like pushing him up there. I was like, oh, come on, like, let's get up there, and then he and this wave came, and it hit him off and hit me off, and then like I sort of like he went back down, and then I sort of like went around to the side a little bit, and I was like far out, like it was so washy in that I couldn't. He was like just holding onto this part of the reef, and then I was like far out, like he's tough as I can't get him up. He's so big,
Yeah.
and it was like I sort of came around the back and like pulled him up again, and like the last actual push, I just went bang and like pushed him up and got him up there a bit, and then he climbed himself to the top of the rest of the rock. I stayed in the water because I didn't know what was going on then, and then he took his mask off, and I seen he had cuts all over his arms and all over his legs and that, so he's starting to bleed
From the
pretty
barnacles?
hard from all the barnacles, and then I was like fire, like he took his mask off and he was as pale as, and he was white, and he already started coughing up, and I was like far out, you're white as, Dad, like I was like, what do you want me to do? And he's like didn't say anything, and I was like, all right, throw me your gear, I'm kicking, I'm going back into shore, I'm going to get someone. He didn't like really say anything, and then so he threw the gear into me, and then we were so I was kicking to shore, and I had like the guns wrapped up like that because I couldn't swim like that or anything. I just had,
So what's going through your head? Are you thinking Dad's having a heart attack?
yeah, I knew that was like I don't know.
catastrophic.
Yeah, something was bad because he couldn't breathe or anything. So it's either like I don't know, one of his windpipes blocked up or something like that, and then so I remember like I was kicking as hard as I could for this like 800 meters. Kept turning around, like looking back at him.
Because you've got the guns as well?
Yeah, because I got the guns as well. Because I can't freestyle or do anything. So I'm just taking forever. I'm just kicking like with the guns and the bags and stuff wrapped up, and then I keep looking back to see if he's still sitting up on this rock. Because if he's fallen back, I'm dropping everything. I have to go back and get him. Yeah. I don't know why I didn't drop all the gear in the first place, but just didn't go through my mind at that time. So I ended up finally getting back into shore.
Has Mum seen all this?
She's seeing it from on the beach, but she obviously doesn't know what's happening. Yeah. She obviously thinks it's weird that he's up on the rock and I'm swimming all over him. So she'd probably be concerned. So she's waiting for me to get in, and I finally get into shore. And by that time I was stuffed. Like I remember standing up. I finally could touch on the sand, and I like just fell back, and I was like, "Fire!"
You're exhausted, eh?
I was exhausted. Gassed. Like I was so gassed. And then Mum was waiting up there on the beach. She goes, "What's wrong?" And I'm like, "Oh, you need to call someone right now." I was like, oh, he might have had a heart attack or something like that, but he's stuck out on that rock and he can't do anything. So she ran up and grabbed her phone from off the beach, and then I came up and because I was still carrying the fish and that from behind, so I was dragging everything up onto the beach, and I just like threw it all down, dumped it.
So and there's phone signle?
Lucky there's phone signal, there, but on the beach there was, but on the campground there's like barely any. Yeah. So I've Mum's already on the phone to 000 talking about it, and like for some reason there was a stuff around. No one knew where
you're in a remote place.
Yeah, exactly. No one knew where Delicate Nobby was. It was like we knew it was south of Crescent Head. Yeah. But like they didn't know exactly where it was. They were all like, "Oh, we'll send the police," and I was like, "Don't send the police. You need us because they're just going to stand there on the beach. Nothing's really going to happen."
Yeah. You need a boat, I suppose.
Yeah, exactly. So they were like, "Surely you can just send like a lifesaver for like a jet ski or a boat or something from Crescent Head." Yeah. Surely could send that, and like, "Oh, we're doing the best we can," and that, and I was like, far out, like he's still stuck out there. But then I kind of knew he was all right because I'd look over and he'd be holding up his fin. He waved his fin in the air, so I kind of was like a bit of reassuring that he was all right. But
so you're thinking, I've got to get back out there?
Yeah, exactly. So I went up and my best mate's dad, Mick Aldridge, he was like the chief police around that whole area. I think like a vice chief. I'm pretty sure. I'm not too sure. So I called Callum straight away and didn't pick up, and far out, like I called him again. He goes, I'm in the car with Dad, and I'm like, oh, perfect. So I called him again, like, you need to pick up this now. And then picked up. I was like, oh, Mickey, you there? And he goes, yeah, mate, what do you need? And I was like, oh, I think Dad's had a heart attack out in the rock. Can
you thought he'd had a heart attack?
Yeah. I was like, I think he's like, that's what I said. I was like, I think he's had a heart attack. And then because because of how much he was coughing. Like he was coughing up, and he nearly drowned. So So I was like, oh, can you send someone? And anything goes on, I'll send everyone. So like, I'm pretty sure they had a chopper coming from Sydney. I'm pretty sure they already, that was already coming. But then the boat was coming and the jet ski came and
So it was probably a 40-minute wait or an hour wait.
Yeah, probably like that. Probably an hour wait.
So in the meantime, you swum out there.
Yep.
And you've climbed back on that rock with Dad.
Yep.
And you just started talking.
Yeah. So so I said to Mick, I was like, what am I going to do? And he goes, someone needs to be out there with him. So I was like, all right, sweet. Like I ran down to the beach and I was like, Mum, I'm going back out there with him. I just brought my flippers. I didn't bring any guns or anything.
So you're swimming out this time?
So I'm swimming out this time and I'm like getting all the way back out there and I'm like, remember looking across and I see like these sharks.
So you have your goggles on?
Yeah, I got the goggles on and I see these sharks and stuff and I'm like, far out. And then...
Are you bleeding at the time?
I got a few cuts and stuff all over my legs and then I remember getting up to the rock again. I look up at him and he's just, I've never seen him in a worse way. Like his legs and that, like he had cuts all over his arms and all over his legs. He was pale white and he was coughing and I was like, far out. So I climb up on this rock and and that's when like straight away he broke down in tears, just saying he's sorry that like I went through this. And then I'm like, oh, you're fine. Like it's what happens. Like and I was like sort of like trying to keep cool about it, but inside I wasn't really. I was like, I was stressing out.
He was intimating he was in the home straight. He was gonna struggle to survive.
Yeah, he because then he started coughing up heaps more, and I was like, I remember smacking him on the back as hard as I could just to like get this shit up off him. And I remember he was spewing it up, and then.
So it was like a phlegm or
it was like this pink phlegm.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure that's something related to do with drowning or something like that. I'm pretty sure. I don't really know. Right. And so we get up on that rock and we sort of pretty much he has an honest conversation with me and he says like, look, if like things sort of don't go right here, I want you to be a man about everything and you want to be like a tough man, and when you look after the family, like, and once you get back down to Sydney, like you do your very best for me and do everything like that. So I'm sort of hearing my dad's last words right then and there. And
how do you process that, mate? How do you cope with that?
At that time, I started like welling up in the eyes, and I knew I was crying. I was like, but then in my head, I was just saying, don't say like I sort of got like a little bit like, mate, you're fine. Like you're gonna survive this and that. And then, but in the back of my mind, I was still like, he might not actually, because he kept coughing up heaps more, and he goes, oh, if I have another one here, because I thought he was about to have another one. He goes, if I have another one here, you might have to lay me down on this rock and give me CPR, but like on this rock, because it was so steep, I'd have to like lay him on an angle and everything. And I was like, far out. Like I don't know if it would even work if I did it here. So he's like,
you know CPR?
I know CPR. Yeah, I know CPR. Yeah. Learn it. I remember learning at school. I done my CPR thing, but he was also saying like you don't have to do the breath. You just pump and just wait.
Yeah.
And then so we were sitting up there together, and we sort of started just sitting there chatting and that, and then he started to just get a bit drowsier. He said he was mumbling his words. You could tell he was mumbling his words, and he was remember I was looking at his eyes. His eyes were a bit like rolly, like rolling his eyes a little bit, and I was like, fire. I was sitting up there for ages, and he was still coughing. And then I seen the police finally. Like I seen someone walk down onto the beach, and it was the police, because you see like the blue on them, and they were just standing there, and I was like, I put my hands up in the air. I was like, what's going on? How come the police is here, but no one else is here?
Yeah.
And this jet ski, finally see this jet ski come around the corner. We were up there for that long. But we were sitting up there. There was these turtles, like 3 or 4 turtles that just came up and like sat around the rock, and they would like put their head above the water and like look around and stuff. And I was like, because there was turtles everywhere around there, but it was just weird how there was just turtles.
Come for a look.
Like just come for a look and have a look around. And I was like, all right, that's pretty cool. And then they just floated away, cruised away.
Yeah.
And then got this jet ski out there, but he was Dad was too like weak to like climb back down here, so I jumped in the water, and he sort of like slid and like crawled down a little bit.
Got cut again, I suppose.
Yeah, cut again, and on the back of the leg, and then he grabbed onto the back of the board thing at the jet ski, and then grabbed him, and they just took him straight in, and I stayed back out there on the rock.
Into shore.
Yeah, straight into shore, and then. They already are seeing the ambulance and like the people that come down, the nurses and the paramedics actually, and then they were already there by the time like everything got sorted. So took him in straight away, and then
so what do you do? How do you get back?
I had to climb back up the rock with all the gear and everything. I sat out there and waited for that long for him to come in and get him off safely. So I sat out there, and then there was dolphins all surrounding me as well. There's dolphins coming up and everything. Amazing. So and that's when like I don't know what, something must happen with the tides or the currents, but then the water got that blue, like it was that crystal clear, like when I was there, so you could like see him like going around in the water, and I was like, far out, like should just jump back in and shoot something, but didn't have my guns on me. But then he came back out, the jet ski came back out and got me. I'm not too sure if the jet ski came from Port Macquarie or something like that. It's like a 40k on the boat on the jet ski, so it's a trek for him. And and then I got on, threw all the gear in on like Dad's rashies and stuff, his masks and everything, and threw that on the jet ski, and I held onto the back and took me in. By the time I got into shore, there was heaps of people surrounding him. Had the wires and that hooked up to him, but he was fine. Like I was like, it must have been sort of a relief thing that he was off that rock. He was, he was getting looked after, and then he was like, the first thing he said, he goes, "Far out, I feel like a can of Coke." And I was like, man, it's probably a can of Coke, probably the reason why this happened. And but it was just weird from seeing him like just about to die. It seemed like he was just about to die, and said all those things to me, and that I like, I've definitely kept a hold of those things in my heart. Yeah, that what he said, and then you get out and you see him fine, and I was like, far out, like how good's this?
So mate, to bring us up to date with Dad, he was in hospital in Port Macquarie.
Yep.
For a week, and then was flown to Sydney.
Yep, flown to Sydney. Yep.
For major heart surgery. Just tell us what they did.
He had triple bypass. So I think he had 3 arteries. And one of the main one was like 99% blocked. And then the other 2 like 60 and 70% blocked. So he was sitting in the ward for a little bit. I was going up there every day, while I would still be like, I'd be training during the day, get home at like 5, and then sit up at the hospital for like most of the night, and then go back home, and then so they did triple bypass. So he's got this scar that goes from like here down to here. He calls it his zipper. So they go from there, and then they crack the sternum, open it up, go through the heart, and they take the arteries, take the veins out of his legs. So he's got these big scars all the way down his legs, both these sides. So they did it through there, and and then I remember seeing him like, because he was such a big guy. They put him under that. They put him under that many drugs and that, because he would wake up, and he'd be waking up too early, and then he'd be like, I don't know, he must have been stressing, and he was like thrashing around, like pulling shit off him, and pulling this big tube down his throat, and I'll pulling the tube off himself. So then they'd just go bang and put him back under again. Yeah, right. And that went on for like ages. Like I remember he went into surgery at like 8 in the morning and didn't wake up till like 10 o'clock the next day. Yeah. So he was under there like over 24 hours.
It was touch and go, wasn't it? Like
100%. It's a pretty crazy surgery. Like it's not always guaranteed that it's going to be all right. Yeah. So like open heart surgery, there's nothing can like ever really.
So how do you feel knowing you saved your dad's life?
I don't like it's
because
always,
there's no doubt you did.
Yeah, like there's no doubt I did, but for some reason it just feels like for me I just did what I had to do. Like that's my dad, and I'd do anything for my dad as he would do that for me. So I feel like doing that for him, it's not really like, I saved your life. I just did it because I love him so much, and just wanted to look after him.
So you're planning your next adventure?
We are. We actually spoke to him last night on the phone, saying when he's back, he said he just wants to be back in the water. He just can't wait to get back in the water.
That's great, isn't it?
Where I thought he'd have a bit of a fear for it, but he said we'll go out to that rock. He said, I want to go out there. Me and him will go back out there. Wow. On that spot. And we'll just have a few words and stuff out there, because I feel like it's pretty, because Mum said no one's going back out there again and that. And Dad's like, oh, whatever. There's fish to shoot out there. Yeah. Like, look, they're still there, and they'd be probably breeding up by now.
So he's mending well.
He's, I think Mum caught him the other day working on a lawnmower or something when he's not supposed to be doing stuff like that. So he's, there's nothing ever really stopping him. He's came back from being out in the boat sometimes, and he's broke. Like, I remember he hit this big wave in this boat when I was younger, and came back, and he's popped his like broke his hand there, and it was sticking out like that, and he's like pulled it back in himself, and then went to the hospital and like bandaged it up, and then I think it was like had a cast on it. I think 2 days later he's like cut the cast off himself and went back to work, and he's still got this big thing hanging up through there, because he's like he gets lots of injuries, and he's been brought up tough.
Yeah, he's a warrior, isn't he?
Yeah, exactly. So he was brought up tough when he was young. So he's sort of like, he's passed that on to us. You got to be tough. So
there's a soft side to him too. You got pets at home? What sort of pets you got?
Got 2 pet goats. Right. That Pop brought from Nyngan. So he'd always just surprise us and bring home just random things, and we can't really do anything about it because it's all the way in Port Macquarie now, not Nyngan. So I guess we had these two little, because the goats are that cute when they're babies, and then they grow up and they're not nice at all.
Yeah.
But we had Millie. She was our first little goat. We had her in the house, and that she'd just sit in front of the fire with a little jacket on, up on the bed and stuff. So yeah, it's the cutest little thing. And then it got too big, and it was running around like charging and going crazy and that. So we put it down in made a little fence down it from the backyard. Got a pretty big backyard, and then it just wouldn't shut up because it wasn't in the house anymore, getting loved. And so brought us over another one for it, and then so yeah, it's both of them being in there. But I remember at one time, I think we had 16 pets at our house. We had 2 guinea pigs, 2 rabbits, 2 dogs, pet crayfish. We had yabbies. We had what else do we have? We've had a pet dingo. We've had a pet baby dingo for a couple of weeks. We found a dingo.
Wow.
We've picked up like magpies and stuff off and looked after magpies for months. And Mitch comes home bringing baby deers home that he like catches and stuff. Like, we've always been like looking after animals and stuff like that. So Dad sort of knows the people around. He goes, if we find someone that like one of them that's injured, then we look after them for a bit, and then we take it to them. Yeah.
So you mentioned Mitch, your older brother.
Yep.
Tell us what he does for a job during the year sometime.
So during the year he I think he's been doing it since he was like 13 or 14. He goes down to South Australia to Port Lincoln, and he flies like little aeroplanes over the Southern Ocean spotting tuna. He's got crazy good vision. So you can see things from far away. So he flies around in his airplane and looks for like certain ripples in the water, and then flies over the top, like circles around them, radios the boats in, and they come out. It might take them like a week to get out there, and like they just keep following them around, and then they net up them for the AEF. I think his company, but there's a fair few companies down there. So he's in the company with the biggest quota. So that he didn't do it last year, but he's been doing it for ages since he was a little kid.
How did he get into that?
His boss, Mozzie, Peter Stevens, his name Mozzie because he's like in the air flying around like a little Mozzie all the time. And then so he came hunting with Dad and Mitch one day, and Mitch, I think they were like looking at something from heaps far away, but Mitch was like the only one there that could see it, and it was that far away, and you could like tell what type of deer it was as well. So then Mozzie was like, "Oh, you got some pretty good eyes on you." And then he goes, "Actually, my other job's this." And then Mitch was like, "Oh, like, that'd be so cool to do." So he brought him down for a bit of training and stuff, and was doing that since he was 13. So every year during Christmas, we'd go down there. We'd 3-day drive down there, camp along the way all down Sydney, and then stay there for a bit. And it was like, while he'd do his job, we'd just be in Port Lincoln just chilling out.
And Mitch loves watching you play footy, doesn't he?
Yeah, he loves it. Yeah, because he used to play footy himself, and then his hobbies took over. He just loved his fishing too much, spearfishing, and then he works with Dad now. Dad's a builder, so he done his apprenticeship with Dad. And then so he was just forever on the weekend or after work and that, going on his little mission nights, he reckons it was. He had a guy that he worked with in mission nights. They'd be driving around late at night, and they'd be looking around trying to find deer and stuff, rabbits everywhere. So every time I like see like play football and I look up there, I see Mitchie. That's my best mate. Yeah, I love him so much. So it's so good seeing him there, and I know he's super proud of me and everything that I've done so far. He's always the first there to, this is so cool, like bringing all his mates along as well. So
you're an exceptional family, mate. You mentioned Dad's looking forward to getting back out there. How do you feel about going back out?
Yeah, I'm excited. Like, I know, what happened? I think it was like 2 weeks ago. I had a weekend off. I went back home, and no one, like, we didn't go for a spear or anything. The water was clear, but like no one went for a spear. I think we're kind of both waiting for Dad to get right, and then we'll go back. So I've got no real worry about getting out there at all. I feel like it happened at that point. You can't let it change how you think of things, or I know it's still going to be fun once we get out there.
Did you struggle at any time mentally?
Yeah, definitely.
Processing what had actually happened?
Yeah, it probably wasn't until all the adrenaline wore off that day. We finally got him into the hospital, and he was getting looked after, and then I was just sitting there, and I was so rattled. I was so exhausted and everything, because I was running off adrenaline for a few hours. Like I was like a high, and then I like sort of dropped down after that, and I was just so tired. And that's when all the emotions kind of hit me, and then I was like, far out, like I might take a step back for a bit. And then I called Robbo and called Auntie Kathy King. She's like looks after all the boys at Roosters, and I just told him what happened. Robbo was in France at the time, and told him what happened, and he's like, oh mate, you just do what you need to do for your family, don't, because I had to go back to training the next day.
Yeah,
but
right.
I was like, oh, I don't think I'll go back just yet.
So they gave you some time off.
Gave me like, I didn't want to have too much time off. I gave myself 3 days off,
Yeah.
and then they were like, I'll have longer if you want. And I was like, oh, I feel bad missing training. Like it's just after Chrissy comes back, that's when all the big boys come back after breaks. That's when I wanted to be in there, see like
fighting for your spot.
Angus and all that, see Teddy, all them again. So it was
Did you speak to anyone professionally about what you'd been through and how to manage it and cope with it?
Yeah, I spoke to the club. I think he's a psychiatrist. I think Ollie.
Ollie, yeah.
Yeah, and I spoke to him about it a bit, but I felt like I got more out of it speaking to Auntie Kath.
Yeah.
She was
So Kathy King works at the club.
Yeah, she works at the club. Yeah.
She basically helps run the footy department.
Yeah, she's the mother of the club.
Yeah.
She looks after everything in that regard.
So you had a good chat to her?
Had a good chat to her like through the whole time, because she'd been through similar things with her parents as well. So it was just good to have like that. Like she's generally like an auntie to me. So it's like it's good that she was there to look after, like call me every day, checking in on the things. And then once we got new dad was coming down for surgery, she like sort of helped us out with accommodation for mum staying down here, and got that all sorted out for us. And she was super helpful for everything.
Yeah, right. So mate, it's hard to, after hearing your story, to understand that footy is such a big part of your life, because so too is what we've just spoken about.
Yeah, exactly.
But the footy, mate, last year debuted as an NRL player, round 13 against the Cowboys.
Yep.
What was that like?
Oh, it's the moment that I've dreamt of. I remember having like actually that many dreams. Like when I was sleeping, I was having that many dreams of playing NRL and always playing for the Roosters. And finally, when Robbo told me, because we knew that was like some of the boys are injured, some boys could debut during the year. And then I remember Robbo came up to me and he goes, "Oh, how you feeling? Like, you keen to play some footy this week?" And I'm like, because I was playing cup at the time, I'm like, yeah, I can't wait. I love playing footy. I'm playing cup here. So he goes, and like looked at me and laughed, and I was like when he goes, "Oh, like you're gonna play for us this week?" And I was like, "No way!" And I was like, far out. Like I didn't really know what to say. I know I almost started crying, but I was like, no, I gotta be a man here. I can't cry when he's telling me this. And then and I was like, far out. Like it's gonna happen. And then at training, he told all the boys, and all the boys like came and got around me. I just knew I was gonna play football with Jared Hargraves and Victor Radley. Like I knew I was gonna be on the field with them, and I was like, far out. Like this is gonna be pretty crazy. So all the week was a pretty big lead up to it. I remember the first call to mum and dad, they were like, no way, like it was so good. And I think I called dad, no answer. I called mum, no answer. I'm like, oh great, like this is good. But dad was in the water actually having a dive.
Yeah.
And then so I told him, and he was over the moon. He was so happy.
And how many people come and watched? How many tickets did you have to organise?
I think I've got the record now. I think I ended up getting like, I want to say like over 150. I think I had that many.
You had to call in some favours to get some tickets.
Yeah, exactly. I had to call in some favours because I know I had all my mates from Port Macquarie, all my mates from Scots.
Yeah.
And because like when with your mates at Scots, it's not like just one or two of them come to all of them come.
Yeah.
So like it was good. And then all my family, all mum's family's friends, and had everyone there, so it was just perfect. The boys made up signs and stuff, and drew my last name on their bodies and stuff and everything. So that
goats come down?
Nah, no goats, unfortunately. Right. Or tried to get the dog there, but
no good.
No good.
Yeah. And how'd the game go? How'd you play?
I remember getting on there after they just scored, and they scored in the corner, and I got on there, and we were kicking off, and they were kicking straight to Taumalolo, and I was like, far out, like.
Yeah.
I'm either about to get put on his highlight reel or something like that right now, but I was about to get run over. And then I remember making the tackle on him, and I was like, far out, like it's actually not that bad. Like it's not too bad. And then I remember the whole game, I remember tackling him a few times. I used to grow up like watching him all the time. I was like, far out, like he's a beast. Like I used to love watching him play. I remember bought a jersey, Cowboys jersey, just with the 13 on his back, because I just like he was such a good player.
Yeah.
And he still is. And then
so you're playing against blokes that you idolised
Yeah.
as a kid.
100%. Yep.
Yeah.
And then I remember just like probably like 15 minutes in, I was like knocked up. I had debut legs.
Yeah.
I usually think I can keep going for a good long time. I feel like I'm pretty fit, but then I knew I was just like, all right, my legs are just like, it wasn't my lungs, it was my legs, just like the lactic acid and the emotional side, like waiting to get on. I remember I took my first carry and I heard all my family section up in the top just screaming, and then when I made my first tackle, they were screaming. They were like, it was so good, and then ended up coming off. We lost that game, but like it just didn't feel like I lost.
Yeah. Do you remember a jumper presentation? Who presented you with the jumper?
Yeah. Mum and Dad came in as surprise, but then to present my jumper was Boyd Cordner. So Boydo came in and
Taree boy.
Boy, yeah. So another Group 3 boy, and he came in and presented me my jersey, and it was a pretty good honour to get presented a jersey by the legend of the game. He's played for the country, played for the state, and captained the Roosters. Like we captained all them teams, so it was thought it was the best feeling ever. And me and Boydo get along heaps good.
Sounds like you love the club, mate. I mean,
yeah, definitely. I always have.
How'd you become a Rooster? Like, how did you fall in love with the club?
I don't know. I really don't know. I know Dad used to love like watching them. I know Dad was always a Chookie supporter, but Nen was on Mum's side. Nen was a Panther, and then Pop was a Tiger. So I remember I used to like go between them three, but then I was like, nah, like Roosters. That's why I love the Roosters. So,
who was your favourite Rooster when you were growing up?
Oh, it would have had to be in between. I used to love Fitzy, when I only seen a little bit of Fitzy, but because how he used to just tackle everything, he was tough and that. So I remember went from Fitzy, and then I went to obviously like Jared and Sonny Bill.
Yeah.
Yeah, so those type of guys, they were legends, and then Boydo.
So mate, game 2, you scored a try in your second ever first grade game.
Yeah, at Central Coast, it was pissing down rain that whole day, and it was like the first time I had an overnight stay. I stayed first roomie was Nat Butcher, so it was a good staying with him, and then and then I remember sitting on the bench just waiting to get on, and I was freezing. The jackets that you chuck on to keep warm, that was soaked. It was done. Like I remember my hands are freezing. I was just trying to sit on the bike to warm up. Yeah. We were running up and down, and it was pouring down rain, and then get on there, and I think probably like my second touch of the ball, Sammy Walker threw an inside ball on the line, and I went through and scored. And I was like, scored, and then I was like, far out. Didn't know why I just scored, so I threw the ball, and I was like, far. And I seen all the boys running over, and I remember Radley pretty much hit me harder than I've been hit in the game. He hit me, I was like, oh, far out. And then all the boys it was so good. It was the best.
So what about game 3?
Versus South.
That was the end of the year, towards the end of the year.
Yep. Yeah, round 27.
Yep. What was that like?
That was good because I only got named at 19th man, and then Lindsay didn't end up playing that game. So then I came back in on the bench, and then got some good minutes in that game. I think I played like nearly 35 minutes, I'm pretty sure. So nearly a whole half. And that was a good game. It was good versus South. A little rivalry they had. The crowd was definitely we were over in a core, so it was hostile crowd. And
so, what's your ambition game wise this season? Have you set a target of how many games you'd like to play?
At the start of the season, I wrote down myself a few goals and that what I want to do, and I first one up there was I want to play 10 plus NRL games this year.
Yep.
And I at least want to start in one of them games. I want to try get a crack at starting in one of them games. So I feel like that All-Stars game that just went past, I feel like it's kind of set me up for a good year. It was good to get have that as a first hit out, and then and so then I had them and a few other goals. I've become more of like a leader, even though I'm a young fella. I still want to be able to go out there and be confident in my game, and then confident in being able to say things to the older boys as well.
Well done on the All-Stars too, mate. That must have been a huge buzz for you.
Yeah, it definitely was. It was being able to go in there with the boys that, like, I know there was Connor and Heath Roberts from our team, but meeting boys from all over the country, different mobs and everywhere, different people, different communities. It was meeting them and really connect them back to the culture. Really,
they teach you a lot about the culture too, don't they?
100%. Like it's more of a culture camp than it is a football camp. Like the bonus is you get to play and you get to train.
Yeah.
But when you're in there, like we're up to like 12 o'clock most nights, dancing, learning about culture, and the boys like really opening up about each other and just learning things about being an Indigenous man. So it was a great camp. I loved it.
Well said. Now I want to ask you about wrestling. Do you enjoy wrestling training?
We do a whole lot of wrestling, so it's you have to enjoy it at Roosters.
Yeah.
We had a wrestle camp not long after Chrissy break. Like I remember all before the Chrissy break in pre-season, we were doing that much wrestling. Like I think my ears are gonna start to go on me soon. I'll get cauliflower ears soon. So
is it fun or arduous? Or
it's fun when you can win some. Like when you're winning some, it's good fun because you can finally put someone on their back and you know you've got them. But when I was younger, when I'd come in and train with the first grade boys, I'd be like 17, 16. I was getting thrown around and just getting smashed. I was like, far out, this is going to be a long pre-season.
Yeah.
And then, finally, like, you get stronger, you get bigger, and you can actually match it with the big boys. And that's when you can get the most out of it, when you can match it with them. And then you learn their techniques. It's a lot of, like, attack wrestle, defense wrestle, and then...
Who are the best wrestlers at the Roosters?
I want to say Nat Butcher. He's strong as he's the technician, they call him.
Yeah.
Who else is there? They got Spencer Lanier. He's just a ball of muscle. He's that hard to put down.
And how do the littler guys go against the bigger blokes?
If you like Brandon Smith and that, like, and you're short and like kind of like short, but like you're stocky and that, it's okay because you're low to the ground and it's good. But like for the younger boys that are like littler halves and that, it's definitely a tough day in the office when you're going in to wrestle. But
so you just had a big wrestling session pre-season, part of your pre-season. Tell us about that.
We had a regular Friday session. We just did our regular Friday, and then we're on every Friday. We wrestle in the cross at Larry's boxing gym. He's our wrestle coach who comes in and teaches us our wrestle. So we always go to his gym, and we went into his gym and we wrestled for like an hour and a half. Got smashed there, and then had a break. Went to dinner, and then probably like 30 minutes after dinner, we went back into the wrestle. It was like 9:30, 10 o'clock at night. And
Did you know you were going to be told to go back?
We knew we were wrestling again, but we didn't know it was going to be full on contact. And it was like 10:30 at night, full on contact
with a belly full of food.
Yeah, big steak in the belly and mashed potatoes. So probably shouldn't have had that, but done that, and I remember the next day. I remember that night I was so sore, and I just like, you just feel gross after you're wrestling. You're sweaty and everything, rolling around on the mats and everything. You just feel gross, like you're bound to get some ringworm or a boil or something. So I remember I just got heading in the shower and just lather myself, just cover myself in shit, and in the shampoo and the soap and that. And
did you have a sleep out?
Yeah. So then that night we had a sleep out. We bussed back to Allianz, and we were told to bring our sleeping bag and a pillow. So we went out onto the middle of Allianz because
on the grass.
Yep. So there's some pretty cool historical stuff buried under the stadium there, which is pretty cool for the club's history and that. So then we didn't like sleep right in the middle because we slept like to the side a little bit near the warm up area and everything. So we was all laid in one big line. All the coaching staff came out as well. We done a bit of breathing. We done like his breath work and stuff, like to relax us, and then went to bed and just laid in my sleeping bag and had a pillow just on the grass. Some boys brought like a swag and just laid on top of the swag or like a mat or anything. But
does it get cold?
Yeah, freezing. But I was like, I'm probably gonna have a shit sleep anyway, so I don't really mind if I'm laying on the cold.
So
wet
how
grass.
did you sleep?
Surprisingly good, because I was that tired from the day. So but you could hear some of the boys snoring and that. Because some boys have their different ways of falling asleep. They listen to things. Some are waking up hearing the Joe Rogan podcast at like 2 o'clock at night, and I listen to that when I turned it off. And
so next morning, what was that?
Next morning was a 5 a.m. wake up. So I probably went to sleep at like 12.
Yeah.
Or later. Mine's like 4 hours sleep.
Yeah.
Woke up at 5. Went up and made sure I went and got a coffee straight away because I was that tired. Showered up, and then we ran from Allianz to Bat and Ball Hills near that golf course.
Near Moore Park Golf Course.
Yep.
Yeah.
And there's big hills. It's like a tradition. It used to be a grass ski.
Yeah, grass skiing.
Yeah.
Place, yeah.
So, but we run up it. We don't go down it.
Yeah.
Which sucks.
Yeah.
But so there's it goes like a big steep incline, and then it like goes down a little bit, and then goes bang, like a real sharp one, and then bang again. So the two smaller ones are like a bit easy to do, but they're more steeper. But the other ones are like this long incline, but usually you hit the whole thing. Went up and did probably like 45 minutes to an hour of them hills, and then came back down to the bottom of the hill and like, all right, we've got another wrestle session. So we wrestled for another hour straight after that. And then the boys are like knackered, no sleep, just wrestling. And then we wrestled on the grass. We're just covered in grass and everything. And then we walked back to Kipax, our training ground, and had a barbecue, had a breakfast feed. And then everyone was like, oh, can we just go now, please?
Yeah.
Let's just go home. We're sick of being here.
It's hard work, eh?
Yeah. And then, then it was done after that. Had a few days off. I'm not going home after that.
Amazing.
Yeah, so far out. It's a lot of wrestling, but it's kind of gone down a bit at the moment, which is
freshen
good.
yours up.
Yeah, freshen the voice.
What's the year look like for the Roosters, mate? There's a lot of senior players have left, and there's a lot of good young talent in the club. What's your expectations?
It's so one of the boys said it the other day. It's not rebuilding. It's sort of more an evolution for the club. It's they're going to evolve. So like these young boys are going to have plenty of opportunity. Like hopefully we can get in there, and like even at the moment at training and that, they're giving us young fellas a lot of opportunity to like take over and stuff. I know when pre-Christmas when we were all there, it was like the young boys leading it, and then once the big boys came back, Robbo was like, young boys, don't step back, you still keep going here, and you help lead these boys as well. So then I feel like we've kind of done that as well. So we've it's been a good mix. It's been a good pre-season, a hard pre-season, probably one of the hardest I've ever had to do. And so it's going to be a good year for the Roosters. Like obviously it's hard losing that many good players, like key players to the team, but I feel like you've got enough talent in there that it's still going to be. I feel like there's a lot of doubt coming around the Roosters, but I feel like there shouldn't be.
Love your positive attitude, mate.
100%.
Hey, mate, thank you for sharing your story with us today. It's an amazing story.
All good. It was pretty good to come out here and talk about it. Really, it was good.
Good on you, mate, and thanks for joining us on Chiming In.
No, thanks for having me.
Good on you, Blakey.